Hold on.
Well, don't do it because we're live. We're live now. No, I cut in mid-conversation.
We have
Hello.
to see what.
Hello,
you know what?
hello,
I'll shave
everyone.
it live on stream right now. I'm getting my clippers.
Oh my lord. Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Rise of the Dark Avatar. I'm ELH, the Game Master, and I'm excited to have another wonderful night of role-playing with these gentlemen. If you haven't heard already, Avatar Legends is already at Viacom CBS for final approval, so full rules could be here next week, though more likely we're looking at February-ish for the full rules, but the good news is that we're keeping on top of it, and the moment those rules drop, we're going to be converting over. A lot of that's going to be on our back end, but we'll still try to cover a lot of the special stuff that I'm sure the full rules have that the Quick Start doesn't. I don't think I've got any announcements, so why don't we just have everyone introduce themselves and do any shout-outs, and then we'll get started proper. So, Aaron, what do you got?
Hey guys, again, Aaron here. On another Monday. Happy to be here. Very excited. I'm loving this game and these characters and this journey more and more with each passing week, mainly due to ELH and Matthew and Wolf here being such phenomenal storytelling partners. I'm Liu Sangxi, the Earthbender. In this game, I'm Captain Williams on Tuesdays, Star Trek Euthenia. And I'm just in a great mood, and I can't wait to get started.
Hi everyone, my name is Darewolf, Darewolf Gaming 88 on Twitter and Twitch. I am playing Shazo. I am the firebender of the group. A little broody last session. Also wasn't feeling great, so very happy to be back. Happy to be playing with everyone except Aaron. You're dead to me. Never speak to you again.
That's fair.
And really happy to be here. Quick shout out. I am running a Saturday night game at 8 p.m. Eastern. It is a 5e campaign that I've been streaming on Twitch. So if you don't have anything else going on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, why don't you swing by and say hello? Or don't. You're adults. You can make your own decision.
Or, turn in early, maybe.
Yeah, maybe just go to bed. Don't support me. I only need like 5 more followers. So come on, everyone. Give a wolf a bone. Pivot.
That was terrible. I'm sorry. How do you end that way? Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play Amaruk. Using the Successor playbook, I am a female waterbender from Republic City. I have nothing to add about my show souls or other games that I play. I'm just tremendously pleased to be here, like Aaron and Wolf. So, looking forward.
Here's one, Matthew. Do you have any existential crises you'd like to share?
Oh my God, yes. But yeah, we'd be here all night. That's just life in its entirety.
Beaker wants to know.
Yeah,
he wants to know.
Baker really wants to know. All right, on that note, let's have Benno do the opening narration and we'll get started. So, Benno, take it away, buddy.
Water, air, fire, earth. Mastery of all 4 elements has always been associated with the ability to bring balance to the world. But Avatar Aang has passed away, and the new Avatar has yet to be found. In this transitional era of rapid progress and technological wonder, the world must come to rely on a new force to maintain the balance between humanity and spirits, between light and dark, yin and yang. Rava's followers would tell you that this new dark Avatar should be locked away without question. Yet as a certain wise man will tell you, light and dark cannot exist without one another. There is light in the darkness, and darkness in light. Can the dark Avatar truly keep the balance? Only time will tell.
Friday, I didn't break through that wall. It was like a plate glass window that they all just put me through.
Well, on the subject of throwing you through the wall, we're back live.
Oh.
We're in a chatty mood tonight, people. I will excuse any random table talk, but we're just in a chatty mood. We're feeling good. Anyway, recap. So last session, you all had found yourselves in the spirit world. You weren't sure how you got there, but you were pretty sure it had something to do with the fact that your charge, the Dark Avatar Ying, going into the Avatar state, something happened in that moment and more or less kicked you all into the spirit world. And you actually had an encounter with Iroh, of all people, which I pray I did him justice, but I guess people haven't yelled at me yet, so I'm going to assume I did. But Iroh basically told you that your charge Ying was at the Tree of Time. For those who've watched Korra, where certain Vatu, the dark spirit, was supposed to be imprisoned. So, the characters all travel to the Tree of Time to find Ying amid the tree, and some words were exchanged, some bending was exchanged, because Ying was feeling a little bit like a freak, I think was the best way to put that. And in the process, she and Shazo had a bit of a tiff. Shazo walked off in anger, and then Amarok and Lu Songshi got to meet Vatu, the actual Vatu, that made a little parrot appearance on Ying's shoulder, as he basically described how light is not always a good thing, and that too much light throws everything out of balance. Not moments after that conversation was finished, the party was attacked by 3 great dragon eels that were infused with light, and the party had to make a hasty retreat towards the eastern spirit portal, which Ying was able to open at the last moment and get everyone through. However, when they got to the other side, back to the real world, they might have been near the Eastern Air Temple, but things were not great in Team Dark Avatar. Shazo was very angry, very out of sorts, and not just because his actual player was absent at the time. Shazo stormed off into the foothills and mountainous area around the Eastern Air Temple, while Amarok and Lu Songshi and Ying all enjoyed a prismatic light show courtesy of a strange antler that Amarok had stolen from the Twin Moons logging camp. So where we're going to begin tonight's session proper is we're going to follow Shazo for a moment. So Shazo, you've walked for about 15-20 minutes through the foothills. You've come to a crest that overlooks a few valleys, and these valleys are filled with rolling mists, and just you can spot every once in a while these dark shapes which are not quite falcons, but some form of avian variety. The sunset is, at this point, you're looking at purples, if not just straight darkness. But even you, as you turn to sort of look back to where you came from, you do see the northern lights that Amarok's horn, the prismatic deer horn, is displaying in the sky. Now, you don't know what's causing the northern lights in character, but out of character, you do know that it's from Amarok. But the northern lights cover the entire sky when you actually turn to look. They shift from blues to greens to oranges to reds, and it's just I would say almost a peaceful moment to just look up and see them twinkling with the stars. So I'm curious, what is Shazo thinking? What is Shazo doing in this moment?
Looking back, he sees this just prismatic, beautiful light show ahead. And for a moment, you can see this kind of glint of tears in his eyes, his fists clench, as you can see he doesn't want to look away, but something forces him to, and he looks back towards the ground. As the sun sets, you see the kind of beams of those different colors of light strike him, and he begins to speak to himself. How could she do that to me? He was right there. I was winning. I had him. He was right there. It's not fair. And he punches. A gout of flame just woof right out in front of him. Some of those birds that were flying around kind of part. Doesn't strike any of them, but he then collapses down, both fists onto the ground, just hitting it, and begins to let out all of the emotion, the anger that he's been pulling in and that he's been holding inside. As this happens, he starts to think back onto when he was younger, much younger, maybe 5-6 years old, and he sees himself sitting on his father's knee. And his father tells him about the importance of family and how not all family is necessarily blood related, but sometimes the most important family is the family that we choose. And then in the back of his mind, as he kind of comes once more to see the actual scene before him, we see that beautiful light show maybe pass over his head, And as it passes over his head, he looks up and he starts to see his allies. He starts to see Lu Songshi, he sees Amaruk, and finally he sees Ying. And he sees Ying, and in his mind, he sees the importance of each of them in the journey that he's taken so far. And that anger begins to kind of almost fade away from him like steam moving away. And as he sits back, he hears his father again. You don't choose every path, but when you see it, be sure to take it. Be strong and be true, and be there for those that care for you. And with that, he stands up and he looks up, and that beautiful light show is maybe again passing. It's just starting to dissipate. Like in front of him, the sun's beginning to set, and he looks back and he whispers to himself, I won't let you down again, Father. And he begins his march back towards camp.
On the way, because the Eastern Air Temple is a large enough affair that you can see it from miles around, but as you're walking back along those dark paths, those game trails, you notice that you're being followed. And it's weird because every once in a while you look back to see who it is that's following you, and there's nothing there. And this happens like 2 or 3 times. And I'm curious, would you speed up? Would you call out? Would you ignore it?
The first time, ignore, thinking maybe it's a trick of the light or just, his own emotions playing with him. Mm-hmm. The second time, he would stop, and that angry condition, not as intense as it was, but he's going to pivot around and enter into a defensive position. I don't know who you are, but following me is the worst mistake you've ever made. Show yourselves.
And there's that kind of like ready stance where you're looking around at your surroundings behind you, and it gets to that point where you feel a little awkward and you start to lower and turn back. And when you turn around, you see a cat squirrel. It's a fluffy little cat squirrel. It's got kind of little head of a cat. It's got a squirrel body. It's kind of white in color with like a brown stripe down the back. It is adorable. But it's just sort of
Hey, little guy. What are you doing here? And he's gonna reach into his pocket and take out a little bit of food that he's got in a little pouch. Like, hey, you hungry, buddy? Come on over.
Does that animal thing where it skittishly hops forward a bit, sniffs, hops forward a bit, takes a little nibble, takes more of a nibble, and then goes full ham into what you're offering.
Oh, jeez. Oh man. Okay. Aren't you cute? I'm gonna call you Mr. Fopples.
Well, Mr. Fopples looks up at you as it finishes its meal, and then sort of starts scurrying up your leg, and it's like one of those things where you've got a cat, so you know what happens when the cat sinks its claws into your.
It burns.
It hurts a little bit, but it just gets up onto your shoulder.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it just gets up onto your shoulder and just sort of sits there, looking around.
All right, Fopples, onward! And he'll march proudly with Mr. Fopples on his shoulder.
There you go. All right, now for Lu Songshi, Amaruk, and Ying, you all have made it to the Eastern Air Temple proper at this point. Now, those who don't remember the Eastern Air Temple, it's one of those things where we actually only ever see it in Appa's flashbacks or in Korra. So the Eastern Air Temple itself is on 3 different peaks that are connected by great stone bridges. On these peaks are basically just circling rows of homes and houses, structures, towers, and other buildings. And at the moment, as you 3 approach, you do see that there are some air nomad individuals, or at least they're wearing the same sort of air nomad oranges and yellows that you would expect from an air nomad. But once you get close enough to call out to one of them, we'll say it's a gentleman. The gentleman stops what he's doing. He was sweeping some of the path. He sort of looks at you all, squints, and then he comes rushing over and he goes, "Oh, my word! Is she?" And he points at Ying. Is she? Is this the one that Nashi told us about?
Likely, yes.
Okay. Oh dear. We weren't expecting you for another week. And he starts running his hand through his hair. Okay. Okay, let's do this right. My name is Ta. I'm not an airbender, but I've worked with Avatar Aang before, and I guess I'm not the leader here. That's sort of Nashi's job, but why don't I invite you in? Are you hungry? Can we get you any food?
And I think giving Amaruk a chance to answer that question, seeing as how he likely knows the answer to if she's hungry or not, Lou is actually just going to give a respectful quarter bow and just sort of wait.
And I think Amaruk really is just sort of sunken into herself, her hands jammed into her tunic pockets, and she nods silently at the monk.
Okay. All right, follow me. I hope you guys like fruits and vegetables, because, air nomads, we don't really do the whole meat thing. This way. And, he does that nervous guy thing where he, takes 10 steps forward, turns around to make sure you're still following him, takes another 10 steps. This repeats ad nauseum. But you notice, as you start to walk towards the actual air temple itself, that Ying isn't really following you the full way. She kind of keeps looking back to where you guys came from and hesitating. And eventually Ying just kind of says, I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. I'm gonna wait for Shazo.
Amaruk just scoffs derisively, as I just did. He didn't show up for us. He didn't wait for us. He didn't join us. Why are you waiting for him? He abandoned us when we needed him.
And there is that pregnant pause until she finally says, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has emotions. I can't fault him for doing what he did. We interrupted his Agni Kai against his brother, and what little I know of him, that was one of those pivotal moments in his life, and we took it from him. Rather, I took it from him. I don't blame him. I don't think any of us should.
Died, and he did nothing. What you did was a mistake, an accident. What he chose to do was not.
So actually, I have to look at your principles here, because I do want to test your balance, and I want to make sure I do it in a correct way. All right, so you have tradition and progress. You're currently at center here. I would say that she's probably going to push you towards progress here. And my thinking is she's going to basically say, well, if all we ever did was keep people in the past, then we can't move on to the future. People can change, Amaruk. People can make mistakes. There has to be some measure of personal development, of character development, of progress. And you probably know what's coming. I need you to... where is it? Here it is. When you resist an NPC shifting your balance, roll a what? I believe it's harmony, is it not? Let me check. No, I think it's just a flat 2d6 from what I'm reading, unless you see it otherwise.
I think you roll with whatever your principal score is.
So since they are at center 0, they don't have anything to add.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do have the option of you have +2 from chat right now if you wish to use it.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
Let's just see what we get.
All right. Well, that is a miss. So you therefore are going to shift towards. Actually, it's 2 now that I read this correctly. So they're going to say something that throws you off balance, but not completely. So you get to choose a condition. I'll let you choose which one after I tell you what she says. And you're going to shift 2 towards progress. Now, again, we haven't been super clear on this, so I'll walk through just so everybody knows. Your center stays at 0. It's just that your score shifts to the right. And there are certain things that can move your center, which is currently at 0, but we're not there quite yet. So yeah, you've shifted towards progress. Awesome. All right, so what Ying says is she kind of plants herself in the ground, arms across her chest, and says, I bet your mother would tell you to wait for Amaruk. Or not Amaruk, to wait for Shazo.
And I suppose I also have to mark a condition for that.
You
right?
do get to choose a condition to mark here, yes.
So I suppose the one that would be most applicable would be insecure.
All right.
As Amaruk folds into herself now a little bit more, not in sort of like this condensed rage, but more out of shame. And she would say, well, she didn't wait for my father when he left.
And I think Ying just kind of goes, oh, well, shit, I didn't mean to go there, kind of a thing. And I think she does the smart thing and simply frowns and just motions like in a wave to Lu Songxi, and then sort of just sits down and waits for Shazo to appear.
And I think at that, Lu will sort of say in her direction, I don't think we'll be easy, or I don't think we'll be hard to find once he shows up. We'll see you soon. And he'll sort of turn to Amaruk and say, come on.
We'll follow along without complaint.
So you two are led into a small banquet hall, which is basically a stone table that has been probably earthbend out of the ground to just be a rectangular slab. Spread across it are a matter of cheeses, berries, fruits, vegetables, standard air nomad affair. And it's just you two in this space at the moment. It's one of those things where Todd just sort of leads you in and goes, we had this prepared for tonight. We'll find something else to eat, but please indulge yourself. And if I can get you anything more to drink, or if you require more food, please do let me know.
Just one thing. I noticed.
Yes. I don't quite know your name, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Lu Songxi. I'm an earthbender.
Nice. Okay.
I noticed that you have some wonderful steamed turnip here, but I was wondering, do you have any raw?
You'd like your turnips raw? Yeah, I can go get that for you if you want.
Not if it's any trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. No trouble at all. I'll get that immediately. And then Ta looks to Amaruk to see if Amaruk wants to request anything.
And Amaruk is just sort of staring at Lu Shangxi, ignoring the server. You eat your turnips raw?
And I think sort of suppressing a smile, Lu will just sort of turn his head slightly and say, do you want anything or not?
She shakes her head. No, I'm fine with this. This is lovely, yes. And she smiles just crookedly.
So Todd dips out, and before we do the Shazo Ying scene, I do want to give Amaruk and Lu Songxi a moment alone to see if they want to handle anything before we move on.
And I think Lu will just be sort of quietly gathering a plate of food, and before he begins eating, takes a large gulp of water from a glass at his place setting. And without looking up, begins to organize what's on his plate and says, in a way, all mistakes are choices.
Oh, some of them are informed choices. And Amaruk leans back in her chair, and rather than eating anything, even though it's been some time since they have had a full meal and rest, she pulls out the large tome that she is always sort of carrying with her from her pack, and opens it up and begins trying to write.
And that's it? You're just going to go back to your book?
Well, books are simple. They unveil themselves to you without you having to deal with them. They don't talk back. It's just all inside your own mind.
That's an interesting statement. No, books don't talk back. They reveal themselves. A relationship with a good book never poses any sort of challenge to a person beyond vocabulary or the subject matter or the complexity.
That's the beautiful thing about them, really. Once you know the language, once you know the codes and conventions, the syntax, really it just becomes a struggle to figure out what it means, to put the pieces together in your own mind. It's a conversation with yourself.
That's true, but if we could consist or subsist on conversations with ourselves, then we would never have developed language in the first place.
And she looks up, turning to the front page, where there's a small inscription written in a hand that is not her own, that you can't see, but I think that the camera pans over it for a moment. And it says, "May this journal fill with the overflow of your heart." And she looks at that for a moment and then looks up and says, "That's all that I had for a very long time."
And if you hang on to that anger, if you choose to nurse this grudge, that may be all you have going forward.
I don't want to live like that again.
So I think, GM, if I could, I'll attempt to roll with Harmony to comfort and support.
I'm glad you got there, because I was trying to figure out an angle to slip into that conversation without breaking it. But yeah, let's see what you got. And you do have +2 from chat right now.
I'm gonna go ahead and use that.
Okay. And you get a full hit. That's actually significant. So on a 10 plus, they can ask a question of you as well, but you also get to ask them a question. As long as you both answer honestly, you can clear a condition or 2 fatigue for answering the question honestly. Or, if you'd rather prefer, we could just say that the earlier conversation counts, but again, I do want to make it an option unless you had anything more to say.
I don't know. I'll leave that to Matthew.
I suppose the question that would arise out of this conversation from her would be, how is it that you stay so calm? You can be so forgiving. What is it that drives you to do that?
My father.
I can barely remember my father.
Oh. My father was a very kind and caring and supportive man. Didn't matter to him what I did as long as it was what I wanted and what was good for me. The only thing that he ever objected to was my joining the Dai Li.
Did he not think that it was good for you?
Arguably, it hasn't been.
That's exactly the sort of thing that my mother would have approved of. Nice, regimented discipline, order, tradition.
Yes, all those words appealed to me when I joined, but rather than that, it was don't think, don't feel, don't question, don't ask, do. For no other reason than that you're told to.
And at that, she closes the book and sets it down on the table, clearing a space for it, and leans into the chair slightly, playing again with that Water Tribe betrothal necklace. And she nods and says, well, for all that she gave me, my mother probably would have agreed with that too.
Well, then maybe we should be thankful that we aren't completely the product of our parents.
It's nice to think that you can choose who you're going to be.
In the end, all any of us has is the choice.
And for people who have probably made some incorrect choices along the way, maybe we should be more forgiving. And she winces. Maybe I should be more forgiving of people who make the wrong one too.
Maybe, or am I? I mean, it really doesn't take that long to chop up a turnip.
That's where we'll do the scene transition, but for bookkeeping purposes, you both can clear either a condition or 2 fatigue. So just for bookkeeping, which are you doing for each of you?
I don't have a condition, so I'm going to clear 2 fatigue.
Okay. Amrik, what about you?
I think logically proceeding from that conversation, angry would be the most appropriate condition to clear.
Excellent. All right, so now we transition back to Ying and shortly Shazo waiting outside. So Shazo, at this point, you've arrived at one of the bridges that leads to the Eastern Air Temple. You do see seated cross-legged on the middle of the path is Ying. And when you start to come into view, she sort of, does that thing where she puts 2 hands on her knees and sort of stands up to meet you. And, she waits until you maybe stop right in front of her and she says, so, are we good?
This is Fazapo. He's my new friend. Also, I screwed up, and I'm really sorry.
That's okay. I screwed up too.
No, it's not okay. What you did, I don't think it was your fault. But the choices I made, I put my own selfish desires in front of the group, and you may not be the family I was born into, but you're the family I have and the family I choose. And I'm not going to make the same mistakes I've made before. So I'm sorry. And I really hope that you can forgive me.
Now, real quick, I'm going to peek at your balance because she is going to try to shift your balance as well. All right, so you have a choice between care and force, so I think she's going to try and push you towards care here. So again, go ahead and roll me 2d6. You have +1 from chat right now if you choose to use it.
Do I roll care?
Well, you would, I think you would literally just hit the dice button next to care and it should work.
And I have +2?
+1.
+1. Thanks, chat.
Says you privately. I'm on GM. Why can't I see it? Can you roll it again?
It was a 10.
I'll take your word on it. If it's a 10, it's a 10. So yeah.
Why didn't it roll publicly?
Check your roll setting. It might not be set to public roll.
Where do I check that?
It's in that right-hand menu where all the dice are. You see that little drop-down window?
Right-hand menu where all the dice are.
Yeah, and in Foundry, yeah.
I must be a doob. but
I'll
I
take a
don't
picture and
see-
show it to you later. But
no
no,
worries.
since you got a 10, you get to choose two things here. You can either clear a condition or you can mark growth by immediately acting to prove them wrong, meaning that it's weird. It's one of those things where she's trying to get you to care more, but you act to prove her wrong that you don't need to be caring that much. It's weird. I'll let you figure that out. You could potentially shift your balance towards the other principle. In your case, that would be force. You could learn what their principle is, and you could get a +1 forward against them. So you have those three choices in front of you.
So I think this is thematically accurate and good to clear my angry condition.
Okay.
So I will clear my angry condition. And Fazzapo on my shoulder, I'll be like, and yeah, this is Fazzapo. I met him on the road. We are friends now. He's a squirrel cat squirrel. He's pretty awesome. You want to pet him?
Yeah, I've never seen a cat squirrel like this before. And as she steps forward, you do get a second choice there. So one of your choices was clear condition. You do get a second choice. Need me to run them by you again?
No, you know what? I'm going to shift myself towards care.
Okay.
Yeah, just that seems to make sense. I'm going to shift myself towards care.
All right. We'll take it. All right, well, she comes up and she kind of, scritches the cat squirrel and, gives it a little pets and goes, well, I'm sure Amaruk and Lu Songshi are probably waiting for us. I think Amaruk's kind of really mad at you. Like,
Do they
really
hate
mad
me?
at you. I don't think they hate you. I just think they're very upset that you weren't part of the whole fight thing.
Oh, I missed the fight. That's right. Okay. Here's the good news. You and me, we're cool.
Okay.
Right?
I hope so, yeah.
All right. All right, that's all I got. But you know what? We're going to figure this out together. And I go to give her a high five.
And for thematic purposes, she gives you a overly enthusiastic high five where you're just like, ow, that kind of hurt.
Ah, damn it. Watch
Sorry.
Avatar,
Sometimes
you're so strong. And ouchie, jeez. Give it a kiss, Fazzapo. Yeah. Fazzapo can give high fives. Fazzapo, high five. High paw.
gives you a little one.
All right, Fazzapo, let's go heal some friendships.
So at this point, Lu Songshi and Amaruk, it's been about 10 minutes since your conversation when Shazo and Ying walk in together. And Ying kind of looks at the spread and goes, oh man, they really pulled out the stop. Are those raw turnips, Lu Songshi?
They're mine.
Okay. I guess I'll have the beets then. And she moves over and sits down next to the beets. But I'm curious what Amaruk and Shazo are thinking of one another now that you're in the same space again.
I think that Amaruk is looking more abashed than angry at this point. She is casting a few little furtive glances towards the door as the other pair come in, but she's more focusing on her own food, picking away at a few of the different vegetables that have been set out before them and focusing on that.
Like any good firebender, Shazo's gonna take this head on, and he's gonna slide up right next to her. You gonna finish that? You gonna finish that? Looks like you're just poking around with it.
Oh no. I mean, there's plenty more for you there if you want it.
Yeah, sure. But are you gonna finish that?
Maybe eventually.
Can I have some?
She looks down at her plate, looks back up at him. Yeah, I think you can.
I'm sorry, I was an asshole. Slides it over.
I'm sorry for getting caught. If I hadn't... And she looks down at her pack, placing her hand on the outline of the antler that's still contained within it. If I hadn't been distracted, maybe things would have turned out differently.
And if I hadn't been wholly focused on what was important to me and focused on the needs of the group, maybe you wouldn't have gotten caught in the first place.
We make quite the pair, don't we?
So we're both idiots?
Oh, I thought we already knew that.
But I'm the bigger idiot.
I'm just an educated idiot.
That's true. My education's very... Hey, wait a minute. And he'll like flick a piece of like, I don't know, something at her playfully.
And I assume that water has been poured out on the table. She'll flick her thumb, and a little gout of water will erupt from the glass on his other side, and just smack him in the face.
Zappo will jump up on his head and like hiss, and he'll be like, "Watch for Zappo! Come on, it's a cat squirrel. They don't like being wet. Here you go, Zappo." Feeds him a little piece of whatever, some food.
And she looks slightly enthralled at the creature, staring at the connecting point between the feline features and the squirrel. Okay. Can I feed it?
But yeah, Fazappo loves food. Also, Fazappo can hop really high. I think it maybe could fly too. Might be a flying cat squirrel. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, you should totally feed it. Him, Fazappo. Yeah, he's amazing. I love him. We're gonna be best friends forever.
That is amazing. That's just fate, right? That's like something out of an epic narrative where you know the gods have conspired to bring people together. You and a faithful animal companion that will be your succor throughout the challenges that you face.
It's like very floofy tail wraps around Shazo's face, and he's like, "Rah!" And his tail is really floofy. Ah! Tries to brush away.
I think at that, the sort of stone floor of the temple gym, just to make a narrative declaration and do this, shift as you watch Lou get lifted up and carried away from the table with a still half full bowl of, at this point, it's got to be his third full turnip, and it just goes away to an opposite corner, and before the earth settles, it abruptly spins him to face the corner, and he just keeps eating.
It's gonna be a tough one to crack, isn't it, Amrook?
He needs to have a little bit more joy in his life.
He needs more Fazappo, is what he needs.
I think you're exactly right. You should share him with Lou.
Hey, Fazappo, let's finish this meal and then let's go heal a friend's broken heart.
And I think at that, we'll do the sort of tropey turnaround with the giant head and the giant mouth as Lou yells at the other two, "Less talking, more turnip."
And I think Ying kind of does that comic slide up to Amarok and Shazo and goes, "I've never seen him like this. Do you think should we take the turnips away?"
Yes, you try.
I think we should let him have this one.
Let him have it? Okay.
Fazappo is like hidden inside of like Shazo's like robe, and it's like pokes his head out. Just like,
love it. All right, so as promised, you are going to get a full night's rest, and this is also where we're going to handle advancement before we go to break. So the good news is that because you are in a comfortable space, you are immediately going to clear 5 fatigue. So all your fatigue should be gone at this point. Now, the other thing is that we need to track advancement. Now, again, if you weren't paying attention earlier or you missed it, the way advancement work is I basically ask each player some questions, and they get to mark a growth advancement. And if they get enough, they can start to take new things. So for all three of you can answer this one because it's the standard 3. Did you learn something challenging, exciting, or complicated about the world? I think yes. I think that's a solid yes, because you did the whole spirit world thing, found out more about the Dark Avatar. So that's 1 box. Did you stop a dangerous threat or solve a community problem? I know it's instinctive to say yes, but did you really stop the Twin Moon?
No.
All right. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a no. Third question. Did you guide a companion towards balance or end the session at your center? So look at your center right now. I believe all of you are currently either close to center or just off center. So I think Amarok, you're 2 off center. Lu Songshi, I think you're at center. And then
I'm one off center actually. So.
Oh, okay. Then actually, that's another no for all of you. All right, so that's one box so far. I now get to ask each of you a specific question from your playbook. And I think we're going to start with the Guardian. So, for the Guardian, I need to know, did you pursue a desire or goal of your own outside of protecting others?
You just went to town on those turnips, so I think that seems to be your greatest desire.
I think
Second.
apart from helping the Avatar, the past few sessions, the character has actually shown a desire to genuinely want there to be, a positive, almost familial dynamic. So I think this is actually more in line with his own desire than it is with his sort of mission to protect the Avatar. He could do that on his own. So I think I'm going to answer yes to that.
I'll take that yes. It's a solid reasoning. All right, so you get 2. Let's go to the hammer next for Shazo. Shazo, did you make progress towards your goal against your adversary? The whole Agni Kai, I'd say yes.
I'm going to say yes. I was also going to argue that he made progress against his adversary by realizing that there are other things that are more important. So it was more of like a little bit of a personal growth than an actual growth towards defeating him. But it's like finding that balance between his own desires and the desires and like the goals of the whole, I think was a big character moment for him.
No, I definitely agree. Definitely take that yes. And last but not least, Amruk, did you learn something meaningful or important about your lineage, its members, or its effect on the world and others? I'd say yes.
I think she's come to terms with that and developed in her relationship to her own traditions and her family. I'm not sure if she's really learned anything new in the last session since our last level up, so I'm not sure.
You have to remember the last advancement we did was prior to the whole Agni Kai camp thing, so you can go all the way back to the Twin Moon logging operation if you wanted to.
Then I would agree with that.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like each of you is going to mark 2 boxes here. So my next question is, do any of you have 4 box and growth ticked?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well then, Amarok, let's deal with you. So, you can take a new move from your playbook, the successor. You can take a move from another playbook. You can raise a stat by +1. You could shift your center 1 step, or you could unlock your moment of balance.
I think based on the character's realizations about her own family history, and that notion that was proposed by Lu Shangxi 2 sessions ago, that she's really trying to fight for, in a sense, a return to the traditions of her own people, like a return to that sense of the nobility of their quest for knowledge, but doing so in an almost progressive way. She's coming into terms with the 2 competing forces of tradition and progress. So I think that would denote an increase in her harmony. So I might raise harmony from -1 to 0.
Okay, I like it. And just make a note here, it's probably going to be the same way when we go to the full rules, but there are certain tick boxes. So actually, no, raise a stat doesn't have a tick box, so you're fine. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, as promised, you guys get a full night's rest. All your fatigue is cleared. Your conditions are still going to linger, and we'll go over that during break, what you can do to get rid of those conditions. But this is where we'll take our 5 to 10 minute break. We'll be back shortly, everybody. Stick around. All right, and welcome back to part 2 of episode 4 of Rise of the Dark Avatar. We resume our little tale the next day after you all have had a restful night's sleep at the Eastern Air Temple, and you've just finished breakfast, and at this point you're kind of stretching and kind of getting a lay of the land, trying to figure out what to do, when a different air nomad walks up to you. Now, this air nomad is androgynous, but has a feminine voice, and the reason I say it that way is because Ing, as they introduce themselves, is very confusing. Like, even Ying's like, I don't know what to make of them. But Ing says, well, I'm glad you all are here. I have already conversed with Nashi, and she has given me permission to give you the instruction that you desire. And she starts to go down the line, starting with Shazo. Mr. Shazo, I believe you have expressed interest in learning lightning. Is this correct?
Who told you that? Fazapa, was it you? Yes, I have expressed interest in this.
Well, while we don't have any firebenders here, we do have a few scrolls left by Iroh, the great General Iroh, which was the founding of lightning redirection. I would be happy to present those scrolls to you if you are interested.
I would be honored. Thank you.
And she reaches into her robe and pulls out the scroll and hands it to you.
Oh, right.
Then she turns.
Right now?
Yeah, she just hands it right over. And next she turns to Amarok and says, Miss Amarok, I understand that you are interested in the subject of energy bending. Is this correct?
Yes, I've read about it, and I mean, it's closely related to spirit bending because it comes down to the interplay of energies and the harmonic convergence thereof within various different spiritual or non-corporeal. She just smiles. Yes.
Well,
thank you.
while Avatar
Sifu
Aang did not give us the full energy bending knowledge that he possessed, he did leave this tome, which you may find useful. And it's a literal book, about as thick as War and Peace, if you know how thick War and Peace is. So hands that over to Amarok.
Just takes it gently, receiving this crumbling tome of arcane lore, stares down at it, rapt, and says nothing.
Next turns to Lu Songshi. You were a bit of a harder nut to crack, though I trust that's because you're an earthbender and, well, air nomads and earthbenders, we tend not to get along, but we did do a little bit of digging into your days, as much as we could find. Tell me, would it be a fair guess to say you're interested in metal bending?
I hadn't really ever given it much thought, but it's always been viewed as the pinnacle of earthbending. I would love to see if I'm capable.
Well, again, we don't have any earthbenders or metal benders here, but we do have a tome which might be to your liking. And she pulls out a much smaller book, and you see on the cover, there's kind of like a hasty illustration of a woman doing some metal bending. But you see also on the cover of the words, transcribed on behalf of a certain, oh God, what's her name? God, Twinkle, what's her name?
Toph.
Is it Toph?
Toph.
Yeah, it's Toph. God,
Yeah.
why can't I remember Toph? Inscribed on behalf of Toph, the first metal bender, is what it says.
Remarkable. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
I'll
then
let the pun about digging into my interests slide. This one's.
I thought you might enjoy it. And then Ying turns to Ying, and Ying is like excited. She's like, "Oh, what do you got for me?" And Ying simply kind of looks up at them, gets that stern, like Professor McGonagall stern look, and goes, "You need training. Lots of training. Lots and lots of training. I want to see you outside in meditation the next 3 hours, and then after that, you're going to be going through the airbending gates." And she just goes off on like a full 3-day schedule, and Ying is just like, and by the time Ying finishes, he's like, "And then when you finish on the 4th day, you will come back here and demonstrate to everyone the progress you have made." And Ying's like, "Okay. Wonderful. Then off you go." And Ying comically starts to shepherd Ying out, and Ying's like, "Save me, save me, save me," as she's being pushed out.
We'll see you in a few days.
And Amarok is just, she started into that tome, did not even look, doesn't even notice that they're leaving.
All right, so the way we're going to handle this is basically one of my interpretations of getting you guys to learn new techniques, new sort of skills that you can do. Technically, the way the rules are inscribed is you're supposed to learn them from a master, but it doesn't say that that master can't be found in a book, so it's kind of like a gray area, if you will. So the way it works is basically... and you do want to note this somewhere on your character sheet. You have what is known for each of you. You have a learned special technique, and the learned is very important. And basically what this means is that if you were to roll a 10 plus on the combat approach of that technique, you can mark 1 fatigue and use that new technique. I know it's a little confusing, but if you're following... If you do use the technique just once, all you have to do is use once, technically by the rules, that then becomes practiced, and you no longer have to spend the fatigue. And then ultimately, when you master the technique, and you do what is required for you to master it, there's a small quest line thing you have to do, then you can use it like a normal default technique. So pretty much you're 10 and above, you can use it for a while, and then eventually you can use it whenever. So who would like to go first here? Because you each are getting your own little special technique here.
Shazo will not go first because he is very aggressively studying the scrolls with Fazapo, who is also reading the scrolls and is lost in thought.
Okay.
I mean, I can give it a try.
Okay. So, and again, when the full rules come out, we might switch this around, but I was specifically looking at defend and maneuver for this one. And the technique I'm looking at, and again, this is more of a conversation, so if you have a better idea, feel free to chip in. But what I'm thinking is similar to your playbook where your whole thing is protecting people. What occurred to me is that there's not really a good way for you to do that. I mean, yes, you do have something like the Martyr Complex, or you might have something that will let you divert, but you don't have a way to just stop things. So what I was going to do is I was going to give you a halt, and that would be the name of the fighting technique. And what the halt will do is all you have to do is spend 1 fatigue, and you negate all conditions and all fatigue for 1 character. Now that character does not have to be an ally. It is a character of your choice. And that character can also be something like Hoza, the Shearshoe. Now again, that is under defend and maneuver, but did you have anything you'd like to add or tweak to that?
So sorry, I'd spend 1 fatigue to clear all fatigue and conditions from 1 character?
Not clear, prevent for the exchange. Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I think that is definitely more than adequate.
All right. Then as you're learning metal bending, you see that, again, someone had to write it for Toph because Toph was blind, doesn't do the whole reading thing. You see that there's kind of these notes where Toph went off on tangents about how Twinkletoes was always getting into trouble and she always had to bend walls around him to keep him from getting hurt, etc., etc. But that's how we'll flavor your learning. Let's go to Amaruk next. So Amaruk, with energy bending, I was looking towards either advancing and attacking or evading and observing. And really, I'll let you make the ultimate call here, but my thought is that it's similar to test balance, but it's a little bit different, where you can mark a fatigue and you can flat out change their balance. And what I say by that, by change their balance, is let's say that they're at +1 on one side, you can swap it to the other one. So basically you invert their balance. And I'm curious, do you want to tweak that in any way? Or would you like to make it easier, harder? What are your thoughts?
No, I think that sounds like a fascinating technique. I think it would probably go under evade and observe as opposed to attack, because it's more of a manipulation and a response than a direct assault or physical attack.
Okay. Then maybe what we should do if we put it under Evade and Observe, because you already get to clear 1 fatigue, maybe we should do something where it's like 2 or 3 fatigue. I'll let you do the ultimate call, though, whether it's 2 or 3.
Okay. Sorry, I thought that was one of the 2 options you had proposed. Was it under, had you been thinking about defend and maneuver?
No, I was thinking of advancing and attacking, because the way I saw it was like you using energy bending to calm or otherwise subvert someone's emotions or state. But no, I like the Evade and Observe. So I guess it's really just, it comes down to whether you want it under Advance and Attack, or if you want it under Evade and Observe, really.
Yeah, I think probably Evade and Observe would make more sense.
Okay. Then yeah,
for me at least.
Let's make the cost 2 fatigue, because that way you're still at a +1 overall in the fatigue chart. And I think that's a little, we might tweak that later, but I think that's probably fair. And the way we're going to describe it for you is you see that Avatar Aang kind of went into not extreme details, but he went, this is how I defeated the Fire Lord. This is how I've dealt with spirits in the past and soothed their sort of problems. And it's kind of one of more of those like introspective autobiographies, if you will.
And I think that as she's reading, she's also taking down almost like biographical notes about Avatar Aang and his thought process, his approach to bending, his perspective on the harmony that he was able to achieve between the various different elements, anything that she can glean from the text. And she's taking that down in her notebook.
All right, Shazo. Now yours is going to sound a little weird, but bear with me. So what I'm thinking is I want to give you a defend and maneuver, and it is redirect. And what this does is you can spend 2 fatigue to redirect any strike or any condition. Actually, let me rephrase that. You can redirect any fatigue, condition, or status by spending 2 fatigue. You can do that once. So, for example, let me describe that. Let's say an enemy is bearing down on Amarok and is about to inflict, say, 4 fatigue. You could redirect that 4 fatigue to another target or simply to a part in the environment. But you have to spend 2 fatigue to do it.
I'll allow it. I like it. Yeah, I like it. That's cool.
All right, and the way we'll describe it for you is, Iroh is a very learned man. He's actually very eloquent in the way he goes about speaking about things, and you find yourself sort of enraptured with the way that he's like, well, in order to find balance and in order to redirect such attacks, you need to be able to go with the flow. You need to be able to otherwise subvert your own reality in a way to redirect something that was not meant for you. And, platitudes like that, which I fail at doing sometimes. But in any event, that is going to be your technique. And we'll say, for sake of argument, that probably takes the better part of the day for all of you to get through that. And it's probably about maybe 4 or 5 p.m. It's not quite to the sunset, but it's kind of in the late afternoon when Ying sort of stumbles in panting and goes, okay. She said I could have a break. How are you guys doing? Please tell me you're doing okay.
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
Are there any turnips?
Oh, don't go asking about turnips. Isn't that right, Fazappo?
But why don't you have some lovely salad instead?
That salad sounds wonderful. And she like hastily takes the bowl from you and like starts devouring the bowl of salad. Okay, 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 I can breathe again. So, any of you know what airbending gates are? So,
they sound like they're gates associated with airbending.
I'm an earthbender.
Yeah, I guess I stupid question to ask. So basically, there's these like folding screen things, or like these pillars that have like screens on them that you airbend, and then they spin in circles, and your goal is to get from one side of this area to the other and it teaches you to be evasive and always thinking on your feet, and I'm not getting it. I've tried again and again, and I just kind of I get like a foot in, and then I start getting whacked around by the screens, and I'm making zero progress.
Well, if you want, we can do that same thing, but we can do the way we do it in the Earth Kingdom.
How do you do it in the Earth Kingdom?
Oh, with large slabs of rock that would actually grind you into mincemeat if they actually hit you.
Oh.
I could throw fire at you.
I was thinking of some sort of water wheel or maybe like water turbines. You know, we use those in place of lightning bending to generate electricity.
I could do all those things. Isn't that right, Fazappo?
Yeah, Fazappo's got it. He knows what he's talking about. Or she, or it.
And I think Ying is like, she's got like a bite halfway to her mouth, and she just slowly puts it back down and goes, right, I think I'm going to take the airbending gates on this one, guys. Like, I don't know if I want rocks and fire thrown at me. Like, I'm already having a problem with wooden gate things.
Well, just remember, the offer stands.
Right. I'm gonna, yeah. And she starts to wander out, but
just remember, there's nothing more flexible in the world than water. When you're in those gates, just remember, you're a waterbender. Be as water.
Be as water.
Or even better, you said that even when your bending was suppressed, you had a talent with steam or like gaseous water vapor, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. I mean, you knew how to control that. You had almost this already intimate connection with the air. Can you draw on that, your memories of that most fundamental element of waterbending, and maybe use that as a way of thinking about how you're going to flow through those spinning gates?
Most importantly, remember, if the gates are burnt to a crisp, they can't hit you.
Oh, no, I was given very clear instructions. I could not firebend blast them out of the way. But, no.
That's lame.
No, actually, I think we can... Amarok, you waterbend, and Shazo, you firebend, so maybe you two working together can bend the steam through the gates and let me see the path, and then once I see the path, I can follow the steam, and yeah, this could work. This could... Sorry, Lu Songshi, I don't know what I can do for you, but you're kind of an earthbender, the anathema to airbending.
No, but you...
Not cheating?
You can't cheat.
It's not cheating. I'm learning how steam flows.
No.
She's right. It's not cheating, Lu Shangxi. It's having a model, a mentor, something to train you in the appropriate motions so that you can internalize them and they become your own. I mean, it's pretty much exactly what we're doing with these texts. We're learning from the great masters through the appropriation of knowledge that's been passed down in these tomes. It's
as much as I want to light some stuff on fire, I'm going to have to go with the Earthbender on this one. I think we're cheating.
All right. Just believe, Ying. And if you can't believe, then just do it.
Just do
it. I mean...
Make your dreams come true!
I just...
Just airbend! Just do it!
I'm serious. Just flow, dance. Don't think. Do not think. Do as Shazo does and just do. See where life takes you.
Normally that would be terrible, terrible advice that you wouldn't want to heed, but just in this one case, being like Shazo, it might be your pathway forward.
Do you ever feel like a burlap plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again?
Just
see?
don't
Burlap
do-
plastic bag. No thought there whatsoever.
Do you ever feel so paper thin? Who gets that reference? I'm done.
I think Ying is similarly stunned. She's just like, okay,
Just gotta ignite the light. Let it shine.
Okay,
Just own the night.
I'm gonna go get my butt kicked again. I don't know, you want to come watch? Maybe you'll be able to shout advice or something. I don't know.
Jim, is it like sunny outside or is it darkening now?
I mean, it's not
What's
darkening
yours?
yet, but it's definitely that late afternoon where the sun's probably going to set in like 2-3 hours kind of a thing.
So, I think taking my last meal of the day outside would be best. Yes.
And right at that moment, Ta walks in and says, Lu Songshi, I have your fresh turnips here.
Thank you. He just grabs them. It's like almost like a half bushel at this point.
Oh no, it's bigger than that. Like he has
Oh.
got like, I'm trying to do math in my head here. He's having to carry it like 2 hands, like almost like you would carry like a large dog. Like this is almost a meter wide bowl at this point.
And Lou will just sort of raise a plinth of earth underneath it and just walk out as it just sort of follows him.
That can't be good for his digestive tract.
I mean, it's a turnip. I mean, it's a vegetable, right? It's got to be good for you.
I don't know. I
mean-
read in a book one time. Yes, I can read that rock benders, earth benders. That's the one. They have rocks in their stomach to help grind down food. That's why they eat turnips. Isn't that right, Fazapo?
I thought that was cows.
Shazo will turn and walk away.
Well, for those of you that choose to follow Ying to the airbending gates, it's the same
I'll
thing
be
we
there.
see in Korra. It's those same kind of wooden slats with the screens on them that rotate once airbending is pushed through them. And for lack of a better term, Ying is having not only to do the airbending, but also the dance through the screens. And again, if you've seen Korra was not graceful at it. To use Korra as a baseline, Ying is somehow worse than Korra moving through those screens. So Korra was already a rampaging bull in a china shop. Ying is more of a elephant that is trying to go down a water slide, if you follow the analogy. It's not great. And you just hear a bunch of, like grunts of pain and just metal whacking on flesh. And Ying tries this like 2 or 3 times, and she comes out the other side and says, okay, I think I'm getting it. No, I'm not getting it. Not getting it at all.
I don't think I've ever seen a person with 4 left feet before.
I mean, there's 3 pedals and only 4 directions. I don't understand.
Have you been given any instructions? I mean, other than just go through? I mean, where is Master Ying? Has she...
Oh, I'm right
Actually
here. She
trained you?
says, literally from right beside you.
Oh, jeez.
What? You look as if you've seen a ghost.
You need to pay more attention.
Yes. And then just looking her up and down and calming down slightly. What did you ask her to do exactly? How did you explain this task?
Well, I use this, and she holds up a leaf, and she kind of blows on it and sends the leaf flowing through the gates. And I told her to be the leaf, to think like a leaf, and go through the screens like the leaf.
And Emmerich is just going to bend down to the ground, pick up a leaf that's sort of fluttering by, look at the leaf, look over at Ying, who must be like 200 pounds based on her token art. She's incredibly
She's
muscular.
Yeah.
Yes. Look back at the leaf. Are you familiar with the concept of mass?
I fail to see how that's relevant.
This is no time for church. All right. So to be a leaf, it's like leaves. They kind of follow the wind. So maybe the problem is you're trying to push through the air, and you should let the air push you.
I'll try it. And Ying kind of cracks her knuckles, steels herself to go through the screens, and clunk, 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 ow, clunk, clunk, why? Clunk, clunk, clunk. And she comes falling back out the same side. Okay, didn't work. Did not work.
I still think you're not being leaf-like enough. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I think it was really good. You had that, be the leaf, be the wind, allow it to carry you. That's really deep philosophical stuff that an airbender would probably say. Yeah. Right, Master Ing?
And she's on your other side now. That is correct. In fact, perhaps we should take a small break to ponder the following question that Avatar Aang once asked of all of us.
What's the question?
I was pausing for dramatic effect.
Oh.
The question is one that he jokingly asked Toph one day, but he said it had significance when it came to bending. The question was, what does a blind man need with an aquarium?
I mean, the same thing that anyone does. You keep fish in it.
Right, but if they're blind, how do they know there's fish in it?
It's a place for them to go fishing that doesn't move, like a river.
That's a viable option. That's a viable answer.
Yes. High paw for Zappo.
And I think
is this one of those questions like, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
Like this.
Yeah, but clapping by definition is two hands, so that's even if you can make a noise by
I got it going right now. That hand's clapping. Isn't that right, Fazappo? Fazappo rolls his eyes.
And I think Ing just sort of smiles a little wryly and Riley? You know what I'm trying to say. She smiles in a slightly condescending way and says, I think you'll find the answer is not so much one hand clapping, but a commentary on, well, your own perspective and the way you approach bending.
And do you know the way that earthbenders approach bending?
With their heads?
And Lou will sort of look at Ying and say, no. With unrelenting stubbornness.
And I think Ying says, okay, you know what, you're right. I should try again. Stands up, to get the gates going, and then clunk, 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 ow, etc., etc. And she does this like 3 more times as you guys are talking.
Can't be that hard. And I think Lou will get up and sort of head towards the air gates.
All right. So as Ying comes tumbling out and she says, you want a shot?
If I know what it's doing, then I'll be able to give better advice, I think.
Good thinking. And she turns, air bends to get the gate going. And now we enter into something very, very special because we're actually going to be introducing a little bit of a homebrew mechanic. Because I want there to be like a high difficulty thing, but Powered by the Apocalypse is weird about adjusting dice. But ultimately what it's going to mean is you're going to do a rely on your skills and training roll. The +2 you have from chat, I'm actually going to negate, or basically the -2 that I'm providing is going to be negated by chat. And I see you, chat. Yeah, I've got you counted correctly. So basically you're just going to be rolling your rely on skills and training. which, as a reminder, I believe is focus, if I remember correctly.
All right.
So let's see what you get here. And okay. Ironically enough, with a 13, how would you like to describe how masterfully you go through those gates?
Just because, Lou is an earthbender, and airbenders are just flighty, feather-brained Johnny-come-latelys. He is just going to sort of firmly clasp his hands behind his back and calmly just slowly walk through everything without moving.
And I think Ying just kind of goes, how did, what?
Rick starts clapping. Incredible.
Are you making am I just not I mean, okay, Lu Sokshi, I'll give you that. Okay. You apparently have mastered this exercise, but I mean, surely it's not so easy that Shazo and Amara can do it too, right?
I just approached it like an earthbender. Which
Shazo's
is probably
up there and ready to go. He's gonna give it the old college try.
All right, Shazo, same thing. Give me a focus. And you do have, by my count, you have a leftover +1 from chat.
I'll take it. Can I roll with passion?
No, I think focus is probably the call here.
Oh, I'm gonna fail miserably.
I just gotta believe. Okay, yeah, unfortunately you do. Well,
if he can do it, I can do it too.
Hold on.
Wham!
If Lu Songshi or Amarok wants to mark a fatigue and assist you, you could technically pass.
No, he fails miserably.
All right.
No, Ying, it's hard. It's hard. Oh, my face hurts.
Yeah, and Ying
so
starts
bad.
helping you up, says, okay. And then she looks at Amarok. I mean, you made that whole comment about water bending earlier. I mean, she kind of motions at the gates with her eyes.
Oh, man.
And unusually trepidatious, whereas she would normally be quite exuberant at the possibility of engaging in this trial. Amarok sort of rubs her hands together. I mean, I'll do it, but I'm not going to be able to do it. Yeah, and then she looks over at Master Ing. I mean, is this going to help, do you think? Or
Well, if nothing else, it'll help you evade incoming bending.
No, but I mean, is there anything that I can do while I'm going through this, probably failing, that will help Ying in trying to learn?
Other than provide your own insights? I suppose the only one who can answer that question is you.
I don't like tests that I don't know what to study for, but okay.
Well, that's kind of the point.
No, that's a terribly unfair test.
And
All
Ing
right,
just
and-
smiles back at you.
So she steadies herself, closes her eyes, measures her breathing, and then tries to conjure forth that spirit of moving water to flow through the fans. So rolling with focus.
Rolling with
And
focus here, and unfortunately, all of chat's +1s have been used at this point.
Mhm. And I have -2 to this because of my insecure.
Nice.
Oops,
And you still pass, but with a small caveat. So let's say you actually don't do it as well as Lu Songshi, but you still mostly get through it until you get right to the very end, and as you're stepping out, one of the screens hits you in the back and knocks you forward. And I think Ing just kind of gives a small clap and says, "Well done. Form needs a little bit of work, but well done."
And she'll put her fist into her palm and give a small bow. Thank you, Master Ing.
Well, what did you learn? What can you teach Ying here?
And she thinks about it for a moment and says, well, I guess it's just be true to yourself. I thought about the flow of water, my own experience, creating that ebb and flow, attending to it, drawing from that well, and I was able to complete the obstacle course, but I don't know how valuable that will be to you.
And I think Ying sees Lu Song. She's shaking his head and says, what would you say?
Don't flow with it. Set your own path and make the screens respect it.
Okay. Kind of conflicting advice, but all right. Be yourself. Make your own path. Okay. Slaps the side of her face. You can do this. Psychs herself. I can do this. I can beat these stupid screens. Yes. Feel great? I can do this. And then, in that climactic moment when we see her run to the screens, that's where we're gonna end today's session, because you can always have to end on that little bit of a cliffhanger.
I learned that from you. I learned that from you, ELH. I learned that from you.
But yeah, what did you guys think? I mean, I know it's a shorter session overall, but training sessions are always a little bit weird because you sort of have to gauge not only the training portion, but, how well the players respond to training. So getting a feel for it still.
So speaking from a personal standpoint, that was amazing because I made it through the whole session and wasn't dying. So
I mean, that is a big plus.
10 out of 10. That was great. Yeah, I feel like myself again. It was good. I'm amazed at how much character development we have jam-packed into every session. Like, I mean, we've played, I don't want to say only, but we really have only played 4 sessions, and I feel like my character is completely different, in a good way, from who he was at the beginning. And I think that's a really cool, maybe it's just the nature of the system, but I think that's a really cool aspect of what's happening here. And it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural. And I also feel like each character has their own little idiosyncrasies. And it's interesting to explore and poke them a little bit. And even though we've only played 4 sessions, I care about these other 2 knuckleheads. So yeah, that's cool.
Love it. Your thoughts, Aaron and Matthew?
I had a wonderful time, and I'm enjoying these characters a lot. I was saying earlier, before we got on stream, it seems like every session, it's just I feel that bond grow stronger. So it's really cool.
And as the other 2 can attest, in our Discord server, I posted a message just saying how much of a delight it was to interact with them and see these characters playing off one another. And I think that's been a marvelous experience. I'm not sure if it's a conjunction of the nature of the system itself and the players involved, their investment in the characters and their devotion to the creation of consistent characters that can be explored and that have depth to them. But whatever it is, it's wonderful to see played out and be a part of it. And I hope that you find that it's the same way. You don't have
definitely.
quite as much time to RP as we have been granted, but...
Well, I think that's actually kind of an interesting aspect because, even the viewers can attest, it's something where Ying is definitely the focal point as the Dark Avatar, but we're not making this so much her story as it is the group's story. And that's a very hard tightrope to walk sometime. But I think we're doing a good job of it. I think we're giving, equal importance to the Dark Avatar as well as you all. And I think you're going to really like next session when you guys leave the Eastern Air Temple and start getting into the more nitty-gritty, not quite Twin Moon logging operation, but actual moral quandaries and things like that. I think you'll start to really feel even more together as a group, or at least that's going to be my intention. But yeah, with that, this is where I'm going to end the recording for YouTube. So YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.